Hey everyone, welcome to the Urban Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. I am here, the owner, Bill Vink, and I've got a huge announcement, huge news, and welcome to the Spotlight Series, folks, because joining me right now is the first official signee, Chris Ramos. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a great day. Today was great news. We finally got everything official. You have the paperwork right there, and you'll be signing that later on this video. And I'm just really excited to have you on board. I mean, thank you so much for coming and joining the UPW family.
Yeah, man. Just this training for the past couple of years. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. You know what I mean? Had championship matches. Not as how I expected it to be. Being the bad guy, going down under. But this time is a whole different story, man. Whole different attitude. Whole different perspective. I ain't doing nothing that's out of the ordinary just to lose. I'm here to win. I'm here to push forward. I'm here to make my future.
I love the fact you talked about the history, and a lot of people, especially in pro wrestling, getting that championship match. I feel for a lot of people is kind of like the ultimate goal at first. I'm assuming that you're in the business to cash checks and win championships. You know,
Right. Right.
and you talk about your title history. Now, out of all things, and I always ask everyone this: why professional wrestling?
Well, it's a great question. Great question. I get that. When I was a kid, my mom and my dad used to watch WWE. Way before WWE was WWE was WWF. Obviously, everyone grew back watching Stone Cold Rock, uh, Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Triple H, all the greats. Me just lit in the living room, just sitting down on the floor, just eating like probably like a bowl of cereal at night before going to bed, just watching the Monday Night Raw. It was the best times of my life with my mom and my dad. Uh, Fortunately, they're not together; they're separated. But that was the only best time I had it, and I fell in love since.
So, and can you talk about your training process? I know a lot of people that in the United States, there's a bunch of different, dojos and training facilities. How was
Right.
your training experience like?
It's a lot of mental preparedness. I would say it's you have to get your body prepared for it. It's not like you going to the gym, lifting weights, doing your daily routine, drinking your protein before you get out of the house. When you're in the ring, you're there just to get your mind right, run those ropes, take bumps. Sometimes the bumps hurt. After a few days after you're there, when you're starting, that's how it happened to me. But I don't have that issue. Um, when I was starting at my school, the first few bumps kind of hurt because I'm trying to get my body back into it. I did MMA when I was 16 for 4 years.
Wow.
So I understand how it is to take bumps and get bruises and stuff. So it takes a toll, but your body starts to get used to it after a while. So it's just you gotta prepare for it.
Yeah, and speaking about your mixed martial arts career, I'm a big fan of the UFC and even a stockholder in the Endeavor Group. How was that experience for you? That's got to be. It's so great to know that. I mean, how was that all for you?
It's a lot different, but it's a lot different than wrestling, of course. Mixed martial arts is kind of heavy on the body, uh, solely because you have to meet a weight increment. You have to be prepared in size. You have to be prepared in conditioning. You have to be prepared in just all aspects of the sport. Huge props to Dana White for running UFC. Um, he he knows how to tell his fighters what to do and what weight they need to meet at before they go into a bout. For me, I had a few fights, not like showed off, but it was just scrimmages and stuff like that. But it was kind of like different. I never expected to get punched in the head so much, so many times. But I got used to the punches and stuff like that. I got a few scars on my face from getting hit, but I don't have the cauliflower like most fighters do. Um, but Yeah, it was really a wild ride. Unfortunately, the school that I went to in Boston before I moved down to Florida um, closed down because of a injury incident that you know some stupid idiot didn't know how to like sign a waiver and then cost the business to close down, and they had this, you know what I mean, the whole
Yeah.
process. It's
The fun legal things is it's a painful time for those of you who don't
yeah,
know
pretty much.
how all that stuff works. And I gotta ask, were you more of a Muay Thai, jujitsuist, more of a boxer,
So
kickboxer? What was your type of style?
I have four fighting styles under my belt. Obviously, wrestling is one of them, of course, because that's the first background everyone learns in MMA. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai, and kickboxing. So I got a lot of those. Mostly Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is my stronghold because I am a person of submission. So if I ever put you in a Kimura lock or a knee bar or ankle lock, anything like that that confines ligament, I'm sorry to tell you, you're gonna tap instantly. So I usually tell people don't get stuck into my holds because it's gonna hurt.
So it's funny because you're like at that point should be like one of those lethal weapons, no? You know?
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Because for a guy of your size and height, that's got to be that's got to be an unfun position for him to be in. And
Yeah.
I got to think, has mixed martial arts, especially since you also have the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background and of course wrestling, that's what mixed martial arts trained you for, and you go into pro wrestling. How much of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu have you actually used in your wrestling arsenal?
Quite a lot, quite a lot. Usually, I do my studies on most of the UFC fighters, especially the legend Anderson Silva, which is the master of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Obviously, kudos to him because if I never knew any of these holds, I would be totaled out in the ring. Just all aspects. I got taught by BJ Penn when I was at Boston. Uh,
Wow,
really good guy.
a
He
legend.
he's really open with training when it comes to submission. Um, but from there on, learning the ankle lock, key lock, you know forward guard, reverse guard. You know what I mean? Just overall, just learning the basics of submission. So
And apologize with that. The lovely guard dogs are barking here in
uh,
the back. The home office is great. um, and speaking of just overall transitioning, because I'm assuming you did mixed martials before pro wrestling, right?
yes.
So you have the two different skill gaps. Now I feel like that what initially would give you a head start over most people. No.
Uh, yes. Most of the time when it comes to the aspect between the gap of pro wrestling and mixed martial arts. When you learn a specific, excuse me, fighting style, that puts your arsenal at best. That knows where you stand at um, in a way to understand what wrestling is before you start taking out more challenges in your career. So that puts you in a stronghold whenever you get into a match, you get into like a collar and elbow, or even learn how to punch and kick. You know what I mean? Because sometimes when you punch and kick, you know, um, you do all those moves knowing for a fact that, okay, this is pro wrestling. You don't actually hit someone. Unless someone hits you hard, you give them a receipt. Like for me, I had that one time when I was in the ring. Dude gave me a vicious blow to the jaw, and luckily I have my MMA gloves on because if I don't have my MMA gloves on, I'm gonna tag you for real, bro. Your ass is gonna get knocked out. So yeah, he hit me so hard on the jaw, and I'm like, dude, you're lucky I have my MMA gloves. I just tapped you in your face, so I'm just letting you know. Next time that happens again, it's not gonna be like, oh, a tap. It's gonna be a real punch to your face.
Well, speaking about your in-ring matches, I wanted to ask you, from your first match to now, at what point, what match do you feel that you've had that you've learned the most from, and who was that opponent?
Um, that's a great question. 'Cause I had so many matches when I started. Um, I would say a month in within me working my matches, the best match I would have had would be that I learned would be me and uh, Justin Cross versus Christian Mills and Kenny Vendetta. Um, Respectfully, Christian Mills, one of a really great guy, really ambitious. Um, he we learned a lot from each other when we're fighting. You know what I mean? Like his mind is so into the heart of soul of wrestling. Like he will learn so much and tell you what happens, what should we do, boom boom boom. Like it's on that like obviously we all know how wrestling is on TV and who goes over, who doesn't go over, who's going to be champion, who's not going to be champion. Um, but for him, me and him just have the wrestling IQ of understanding like what his ambitious goals are and what mine are, and how I am as a badass heel in this business. Because I usually don't say much, honestly. I literally stare at you like I want to beat your ass so hard that you think you're gonna make it out alive that night. And honest to God, it sometimes comes like that. Like when the bell rings, I'm a totally completely different person. So I give kudos to Christian Mills.
And it's funny that you mentioned that you're a badass heel. I sat there and I was telling actually I had a board meeting before this, and I was explaining that to investors and everything. I was like, well, this is a promo heavy company. People got it. Yeah, I've always said that this company I felt should be a platform for people who aren't seen yet to really get their start. They came here, and that's where their career became an upward trajectory. Because I feel like the goal for me as a booker promoter everything like that is to let everyone shine. And I love your work. I've loved your work for quite a while. I've had a lot of people send me footage of you, and it's great to watch what you've been doing. I love your finisher, and I want. Can you talk any more about that shit? just so that people don't know how just badass it is. I'd love if you could just go into that.
So my finisher, that obviously it's that I wouldn't say copy move, but it is a trademark from Brock Lesnar, of course. Brian Cage uses it. Um, you know, I wouldn't say it's a copied move since Brock hasn't been wrestling in over a year since the pandemic started, or 2 years at that. Um, so I decided I wanted to take something that was out of the original. I know people like using, Code Breaker, uh,
Stunners and DDTs.
Backstabber, DDTs, out of the ordinary. People like using, how do you say, jackhammer, all that, spear. Um, I wanted to see how I would be good just deadlifting a person, fireman's carry, and just spinning them off my body. Um, is it fun? Yes. Is it hard to do? Hell yeah. Um, just lifting someone that's about a weight increment of 250 pounds. You're lifting someone that's really heavy. You know what I mean? And giving weight where weight is due when you're in the gym, that pays off a lot. When I'm saying it pays off a lot, if I if I'm in a match with someone who's 225, lean, built muscle, has the stamina, has the conditioning, doing all the weightlifting, and I pick you up and I give you that, it's gonna be a little bit of struggle because I have to get a composure of lifting your ass and slamming you on the mat, and that canvas is gonna hurt when you land on it. I know when I first started doing the move, it was a traditional Survivor Series matchup, and I actually picked one dude. I don't know. I know if you've seen one of the clips. He picked one up in five. which is a devastating one. And he was holding his shoulder at that night. I knew for a fact I had two things. I messed him up really bad, and I either broke his shoulder, giving him the move. And later to tell me after the match, hey man, my shoulder's jacked up. I was like, all right, well, what did you do? He's like, I land on it wrong. And I told him straight up how to take it. So if you don't know how to take it and I tell you how to take it, that's not my fault. If I give you a move that I'm telling you specifically how it goes, it's a face bump, not a shoulder bump. If it's a shoulder bump, you land on your shoulder. But you don't want to land on your shoulder because you're going to end up separating a bone, break your collarbone, or other ligaments that you can tear all in one move. So he went to the hospital and got an MRI done, and he had a torn joint in between his shoulder and the outside of his shoulder. So it's just it was drastic. But the F5, I change up my arsenal a lot. I usually don't go for that. That's probably like my go-to finisher if I'm actually going to end the match. If I feel like the little baby face doesn't want to give up, then I will make him give up afterwards. So.
Well, it seems like you're out here breaking bones and taking names. Definitely would not want to be on the receiving end of that. But I also want to talk about, and I remember saying this before, about you. Your upbringing. How was life for you at from now to back then?
It's been a wild ride. Obviously, since the pandemic, everything's so virtually now.
Yeah.
Um, and thank God for technology to keep everyone connected. Um, for me, I had to take a hiatus for a little bit. I just needed to see the competition, see how it riled up after wrestling's been on a pause and a standstill, and how everyone had a trigger finger of an itch to get back in the ring. For me, it wasn't the case. Back in July, I got COVID eventually. Did it suck? Yes. Did I like it? No. Did I want to be at work? No. But thanks for COVID, I didn't. So, uh, I learned my lesson just to take care of yourself, dude. Life is precious, especially in pro wrestling. All the legends are going away, um, you know, and it's for me getting COVID, it sucked. When I say that in drastically, if anyone listens, it sucks. Um, it's gonna be within May, July. I got sick and infected and diagnosed July 6th. So it's gonna be a whole year since I got infected with COVID. So eventually, I got the vaccine, and this is not for a CDC recommendation. Go get the vaccine, get vaccinated, get back to normal. Let's do what we want to do. Just like how it was last night at AEW Double or Nothing. All the fans, most of them vaccinated, most of them not. I can't judge on what's going on pay-per-view, whatever.
Great show.
But yeah, it's an outstanding show. Outstanding show. I honestly like. I usually don't watch full pay-per-views from beginning to end, but it was a great show. But regardless to say, I'm going to be back in the ring. Sunday was my first time back. I went to a live festival show. It was like a hot air balloon show, Wildwood, Florida. Shout out to local pro wrestling for giving the opportunity for me to shine again. So, I was back in the ring and feel like I haven't missed a beat.
I think that right there is one of the best things too. And speaking about not missing a beat, I feel that in ring psychology, I've always felt, for me, was one of the biggest things. But for you, as the actual performer, as the actual wrestler, how big is the psychology of a match for you?
Psychology wise, it's mental. You got to be prepared. Doesn't matter if you're behind gorilla position or you're talking to your opponent that you're going over a match and all that. You gotta be prepared. Psychology wise, you gotta know your moves, what you've been trained on, and how you do the moves perfectively in the ring. You got to communicate, and that's the key essence in matches. You know, you might see someone do a collar and elbow for like about 2 minutes, and they're just tug of warring it out, just pushing each other and going to the ropes, because sometimes people will lose sight in wrestling when you're fighting. You know, and they, oh, what's going on here? Oh, let's just stay, just hold. You know what I mean? So it's just like, for me, I'm not more of a technical wrestler. I'm more of a fighter. So it's just like, me looking at someone or Carla and Elbow do like, international, move sets into the ring, jumping off turnbuckles and jumping like tope suicida and all that stuff is, you know, you have to have the psychology in the ring. If you don't, then you're not going to guide yourself in the right direction to give a good match to the audience. So,
And to follow up on that, I want to. Who do you take the most influence of in your arsenal? Like, who do you think for you is like the most influential?
I would give credit. I know people might say, like, everyone says, like, I do like a Brock Lesnar moveset. I don't. I usually watch my moves of Samoa Joe. Um, Badass dude. Uh, you know, he has something in his craft that's just like outstanding. You know, he has a lot in his arsenal that he's gained over the years on the independent circuit, going to Ring of Honor, being at Ring of Honor, went to TNA as a TNA legend. Uh, you know what I mean? Very, very fundamental person. Samoa Joe is one of the top people that I look at as, strategists and you know, uh, I don't go ahead and just look at his movesets. I look at how his demeanor is in the ring. You know what I mean? As if he's a baby face or he's a heel. Overall, me studying Samoa Joe and how he is in the ring shows a potential where a guy who came out from nothing, you know, from the streets, straight up, you know what I mean? Samoa Joe put his ass on the map. Like, Brian Danielson, him going at it's a match between Brian Danielson versus Samoa Joe.
Ring
Um,
of Honor days.
it's a old school matchup, and this is when technical wrestling was like a big thing back then, back in the 2000s. Not in like the new millennial stuff that we have now. I was watching their match. Their match was probably like a 20-minute match, and just overall, Samoa Joe's just like just tearing apart Brian Danielson. Like before Daniel Bryan was a thing. Uh, just watching him just take his leg and just hold it into like one leg, like just hold, just one single Boston crab, just for a good solid 10 minutes. Just watching them just do that, just tearing people apart, just stretching their ligaments out, and that shows that as he takes his time in the ring, but it's also is inflicting so pain like the audience can watch what's happening. Who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, where the psychology's at. That's where I learned all my stuff from.
Well, I couldn't think of anyone who could better really personify that. I look at Samoa Joe. I think he's one of the best storytellers that are out there, and one of the best free agents too. It's funny 'cause when you said that you liked fighting. I actually didn't think of Samoa Joe. I thought of Eddie Kingston for a little bit because a straight up brawler likes to fight, and then you went more into the technical depth, and I thought of Samoa Joe at that point. And then you got the Brock Lesnar esque finisher. You have this amazing presence about you, and I feel like you really are like a big threat,
Right.
around. Um, for you, was it always like I'm going to be that big guy that kind of dominates, or was it I'm going to be more of a big guy who's very technical or very agile, kind of like a Keith Lee aspect? Was it always just a Samoa Joe for you?
Necessarily no, but when you watch wrestling and you watch all these names that you've mentioned, um, you got to put yourself in a standpoint where you got to be out on a crowd. You got to be that person that you don't want to be one of the Samoa Joes. You don't want to be one of the Eddie Kingstons. You don't want to be as a Brock Lesnar. You don't want to be as like Braun Strowman, whoever it is in the business. Um, you got to be who you are. The more that you stand out as a character, the more likely it is that you're going to put yourself over every single time. For prime example, look at Eddie Kingston. Jesus Christ. Dude is a bona fide gangster. I'm telling you this right now. For him from New York, I'm telling you this right now. Kudos to him. You know what I'm saying? Now, he reminds me when I was in the streets and you have this dude over here just, you know, saying you're every single time, bro. Like, I'm from Boston. I understand the whole street code and everything, man. You know, for him, where he came from and how he grinded and to be where he is now, you know, Jesus Christ, bro. That he stood himself out most than anyone in this business. I'm telling you this right now. I'd say those two people that I can mention. We're not gonna mention the Samoan dynasty because that's different. They different street. You know what I'm saying? They're from the Bay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not sure about it, but I know the history, but I'm not sure about it. But Eddie Kingston and Samoa Joe are the only two people that I know that stand out in the crowd, and that's one thing that I tell people. I don't care if you love me, you hate me, you don't like me. One thing I will make sure that you pay attention to me, and at the end of the day, you're gonna understand who I am and how I am as a person in the ring, not outside. Outside is a completely different ballgame. I can be as softy as I want, but when it comes to game time and it's playing that bell rings, you're gonna see me as being the biggest asshole ever. So
And last but not least, if there's one thing that you want to accomplish in UPW, what is that?
I can say dominate, whip some ass, especially that little championship you got behind you.
That's a beautiful belt.
Yeah,
The
and
pride and joy of this company.
it'd be more beautiful. It's around my waist or over my shoulder.
Hey, well, you never know. Maybe one day.
Yeah, sure.
No, I'm serious. No, I've always said that this is a place of opportunity, and I'm not one of those people who like to go back on their word. I'm a man of word. I want everyone to shine. I want everyone to feel like they can be that main event guy, that top guy. So for me, never know if the chips fall right, that could easily be potentially a shot for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see it where it can come home and be over shoulders of a true fighter, not one of these marks that hold championships and cut promos and stuff like that. I'm a man that doesn't say much, but when I know for a fact that I can back it up in the ring, I can back it up. I can cut a promo here and there, but at the end of the day, it's not about cutting promos. It's not about putting yourself over the limit. It's not putting yourself on screen time. It's about you learning what it is and now to become a true champion. For me, have I held a belt once in my life? No. No. Do I feel like it's a trophy? Yeah. Do I feel like I should hold some metal and some gold in my life? Yeah. But do I feel like, you know, giving pain where pain's due to someone that deserves it? Yeah. So just making sure that that is in my sight. That is not getting out of any type of target that I go through in the ring, outside of the ring, on screen, whatever. That belt right there is going to come to where it needs to be, and that's over my waist or over my shoulders.
I couldn't have put that any better myself. I mean, that was pretty phenomenal right there. Just alone. Well, to pretty much make this official, folks. I know we faxed over the paper, the good old contract.
Yep.
Put pen to paper to that. We'd appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, the first signee to Urban Pro Wrestling, Chris Ramos. We have our first show in 2022. Boom. It's right there. The real deal. If you actually want to kind of move back so it doesn't zoom in and get all cloggy. There, it works. It's good enough. they see
I
it.
tried my best with the fingers. I don't have a pen to do it, so.
Hey, it's a-okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me on the Spotlight series. Ladies and gentlemen, the first signee, Chris Ramos. You can see him in action during our first show in 2022. Thank you guys so much for watching. This will be posted tomorrow, which is Tuesday. Well, it'll be today for you guys. Tuesday. Did that there. And thank you so much again. Please do hit that sub button. Subscribe to the Urban Pro Wrestling. We have a YouTube, Twitter, Instagram is all the same. Go check it out, everybody. And also, do you want to plug your own stuff, good sir?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on IG at Boricua Flow. 20. See, I'm not good keeping up with my tag up on Instagram. You know what I mean? It's, Puerto Rican, saying Boricua Flow, FLO, not with the W, and then 23 is like Michael Jordan with the air. So yeah, again, for people that don't know my social media, it's Boricua Flow 23. All right.
Boom. There you go. And also,
if you don't follow me, you see what happens.
Go follow him. I don't want to see what happens. Also, Twitter and IG, Urban PW. We'll see you later, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Subscribe to Urban Pro Wrestling.